Welcome to America's Heroes Group.
Welcome back to America's Heroes Group. We are here with our Roundtable Veterans Court with Judge Hooks, Attorney Lori Roper, and Attorney Brian Scanlon. June is LGBTQIA Pride Month. Today is Saturday, June 26, 2021. Our host is Cliff Kelly, the Governor of Talk Radio. I am his co-host, Colonel Dr. Damon Arnold. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith. Our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega, Scouts Honor Productions. Today we have our panelists, Lori Roper and Brian Scanlon, and they also have another guest, Dan Futrell. But Lori Roper is a Cook County supervisory attorney, problem-solving courts, and Brian Scanlon is a Cook County assistant attorney, public defender office. And Dan Futrell is a U.S. Ranger Combat Infantry officer, and we will bring him on, but he has an distinguished career. He was with the Gonzaga University's ROTC program. He was an infantry officer and a Ranger qualified infantry officer by that, a platoon leader. His most notable deployment was for 15 months with the 3-2 Stryker Brigade in 2006-07. Where he was awarded the Combat Infantryman's Badge. I was actually deployed into Iraq and Mosul with the Stryker Brigade, the 2nd ID. So we have some common grounds there. But that was back in 2004-05. He's also a post-military. Dan earned a master's in public policy from Harvard University and in the 3rd class of Tillman Scholars. Since then, he has served for 6 years as an elected official on the local school board and has held executive roles in nonprofits and private companies alike. Dan now lives in Chicago with his wife, Giselle, and his son, and a couple of 4-legged friends that are at home. I'm sure they're dogs or cats. We'll talk about that, where he is training daily to improve his 2:48 marathon best. I mean, what else do you need in a person? I mean, you are like a role model for anyone who's an employer out there looking for hiring veterans. So today our discussion will surround Pat Tillman Foundation. Welcome to all of you. Hi.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hi, Lori.
Thanks for having us here.
Hi, how are you doing? Good. Yeah, Lori, why don't you lead us off for a second, and then we can talk to Brian as well. And then they can introduce Dan Futrell, and we'll talk a little bit about this Pat Tillman Foundation, why it's so important, what it does, how it moves.
Okay. Again, I'm Lori Roper. I am so excited to have Dan on the show today. The Pat Tillman Foundation is such a very important organization, and I'm sure your listeners are very familiar with the gentleman by the name of Pat Tillman. I'm going to let Brian go into the introductions of Dan, and I'm sure Dan will give us more details on who exactly Pat Tillman was.
Thank you, Colonel Lori and Dan. Dan, I just want to say we were led to your to the knowledge of you and the Pat Tillman Foundation by a good friend of yours, Dr. Odom, who was on our show previously, and I do hope he's listening now, and you can tell us how you know him. Dr. Odom has helped the Veterans Treatment Court through the University of Chicago, and I would just like to start off by asking you, Dan, what brought you into the service, and what brought you to the Tillman Foundation?
Hey, this is Dan. Hey, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on and for giving me some time. I'll tell you, as I was making a transition out of military service myself, and you guys offered a very generous introduction there. As I was making my own transition out of military service into a master's degree program and trying to figure out what I was going to do with the rest of my life, I met another classmate of mine who suggested that I look into the Pat Tillman Foundation and apply to their scholarship. And, I did. And, of course, we all in, 2001, 2, 3, 4, we all knew about Pat Tillman. and the decisions that he made that still continue to inspire. But when I was able to apply and then was selected as a Tillman Scholar, it was even more meaningful for me because, quite honestly, as a Tillman Scholar, not only is there financial support for education, but I would say, I have gained a sense of community with other Tillman Scholars, but also I feel a sense of obligation to continue doing good work in my life. And I'll say one more thing before I pause here, but Marie Tillman is our board chair. Marie Tillman was is Pat's widow. She lives in Chicago here, and is the reason why we are here. And in a variety of ways here in Chicago, we as an organization exist. When she talks about Pat's legacy, she talks about the Tillman Scholar community. We now have, next week we're going to announce our next class of Tillman Scholars, which will put us over 750 Tillman Scholars over 16 years. Marie Tillman describes Pat's legacy as a living legacy, and that legacy lives on through all of the Tillman Scholars that are part of this community and that have, demonstrated a commitment to serving others while wearing the uniform and beyond their uniform service.
Fantastic. Yeah, I was wondering, Brian or Dan, if you can tell us, just tell us a little bit about Pat Tillman, because some people who joined the service recently may not know the history, but it's a remarkable history.
Sure. I'm happy to talk a little bit about Pat. So Pat was somebody who, by football standards, was not physically big. He didn't, he wasn't bigger than most of the people on the field. He wasn't faster than most of the people on the field. When he, in high school and even before then, he got cut from the baseball team and was consistently told like, hey, yeah, you're pretty good, but you're probably not going to make the next level. You're not the right size, and maybe you don't have what it takes. And he grew up in the Bay Area in California. And he's somebody who, didn't come from a perfect life, didn't make every perfect decision in his life. And if folks are interested in learning more about Pat and more of the details of his life, I'd point you to a book written by John Krakauer called Where Men Win Glory. But Pat grew up and he really wanted to play college football. And he wasn't getting a ton of interest, and he was able to find a spot on the football team with Arizona State University as a Sun Devil. And again, the expectations on him because of what he brought physically were not very high. Like, oh, great, you could be on the team, but we don't think this is going to amount to much. And what they saw in Tempe was somebody who brought an exceptional amount of passion to his work on the field, but also somebody who was committed to succeeding in the classroom. He's somebody who, was very well read and understood that while football was very, very important to him, he also understood that he wanted to be well-rounded and wanted to, understand his place in the world as a young man. And so when he finished college at ASU, again, he hits this, this inflection point in his life, and he said, I really want to play in the NFL. And again, he's not getting a lot of interest. He just had led his team to the Rose Bowl and in 1997, and he had shown exceptional leadership within the locker room. And again, he wasn't getting a lot of interest. He was drafted in the 7th round by the Arizona Cardinals. And expectations weren't super high. But once he got on the field, what he brought, that passion, that energy, that tenacity that he brought made him a standout player. He got the most tackles in a season. And so when 9/11 happened, he was pretty affected by it. And he started asking himself, what have I done to contribute to this greater thing we call our country? He had family members that had served, and that inspired him. And he said, I'm being called to serve here. And so he turned down a multi-million-dollar NFL contract to continue playing, and he was doing well at the top of his game, and he joined the U.S. Army Rangers, the 2nd Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment, and deployed to Iraq with he and his brother Kevin also joined. They both deployed to Iraq, deployed to Afghanistan, and Pat ultimately was killed by friendly fire in April of 2004 in Afghanistan. And a lot was made around that, and I don't need to go into the details here. The short of it was, the first story that came out wasn't quite the full story, and it took some time to get the full story that it was in fact friendly fire. But ultimately, here we are now, 17 years later, talking about a man who was very selfless, who was tenacious, and still continues to inspire.
Yes, excellent. I just like to hear those stories because it reaffirms the commitment that people make every day when they raise their hand and put on a uniform, regardless of what the branch is, and how to defend this nation and protect us. So I know, Brian, you had another question you would ask.
Yes. What I would like to tell Dan is one of the reasons I thought he'd make it such a great guest is I think the Tillman Foundation and what we are often involved in, the Veterans Treatment Court, are kind of a reflection of each other. We have, as from the Public Defender's Office, we represent veterans who don't make the perfect life decisions, and we invest in them to become better. As Dr. Odom has been talking about before, how do we turn you around to make you reestablish the mission now that you are called to do in the service? So I'd just ask Dan, as you talk about your scholarships, Veterans Treatment Court, which are always welcome to come to the graduation once our clients clean themselves up and reaffirm their dedication to their lives. Is there anything that the Tillman Foundation could offer the graduates of the Veteran Treatment Court?
Yeah, well, first, let me say, veterans treatment courts are so important. I think we as a country post 9/11 have struggled to figure out how to, on the civilian side, we've struggled to figure out how to welcome back veterans who have had pretty exceptional experiences at young and impressionable points in their life, and we've not really built a path for them to integrate back. And so, I think we're in a lot better shape now, 20 years on, than we were immediately. But veterans treatment courts, where veterans might have they've found themselves in the criminal justice system. I very much welcome this idea that we can tap into the optimistic part of who they are. We could tap into the discipline and the training that they've received within the military and say, hey, like, that can still be a part of you if you want to tap into it for good. With regard to the Tillman Foundation, the thing that I would say is, we exist to support veterans and military spouses who are going back to school, who quite frankly believe that the biggest impact that they're going to make in their life hasn't happened yet. A lot of veterans can look backwards and say, oh man, those were, the days of my life. And, let me tell you these stories for, the next 20, 30, 50 years. And we all who have served, and everybody, quite frankly, we have those stories, right? We have those stories, and we're going to keep telling them, and that's fun, especially, when we find ourselves with other veterans. It's an easy way to connect. But all of our Tillman scholars believe that they haven't done the biggest thing in their life yet, and they're joining, they're applying for our scholarship, and they are articulating what kind of impact they want to have, how this education helps get them there, and how this community can be a support for them. So for all the veterans that find themselves in the veterans treatment courts, what I would say is, hey, look, if you're looking to go back to school, please apply. February is the month that our application is open for the following fall. Every February 1st, our application season will open. So, and before that, we have information sessions, and we are more than happy to talk about what makes a good application. We've got a lot of videos online that talk about our application process. But the thing that I'd say for anybody who's gone through a veterans treatment court is if you're looking to get an education, you're looking to invest in yourself, please apply. Share your story with us, and let's see if we can't support you.
Wonderful. Are there any success stories you'd like to talk about?
We have a lot of Tillman scholars who are doing really important work. I jumped on a couple minutes early, and I heard you talking about female veterans and how the Veterans Affairs is recognizing the importance of serving women. And so, if you'll allow me, I'll talk for a minute. We do have one scholar named Andrea Goldstein who works in, she works in Washington, D.C. As a staff employee of the Committee on Veterans Services within the House of Representatives. She is somebody who, as a Navy veteran, she has, raised her hand to serve. She's deployed and continues to find a way now through her day job to support other veterans. And that's the kind of thing where, we have, all of our veterans are continuously looking for ways to serve others. There are other folks out there too, right? We have one Tillman scholar right now named Tom, who is, he's a former police officer, and he was involved in a police involved shooting where somebody was killed, and he was the police officer, and that as a moment in his life as a professional, so serving his local community as a police officer after having served in the military, that moment really caused him to reflect on his relationship to his community and how he might improve that, and how his knowledge of policing might be beneficial going forward. And so he ultimately decided that he was not going to continue forward in the police force. He's now working towards a PhD to study the use of force by police forces across the country. And he's in one of these PhD, and he's in a PhD program where they're forcing him to do the deep analysis across all these police forces across the country. So Tom Baker here, he's doing the analysis to say, what are the parallels we could find in police use of force instances, and where we can find parallels, where can we reduce those instances of use of force. The last thing I'll say is just to highlight another scholar. We have a scholar named Chris Diaz, who lives in Philadelphia. He was working on a graduate degree in human performance, and so really coming at he started coming at it from an athletic point of view. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he started trying to think through how can we take kind of the psychological, the social elements of athletics and apply it in other parts of our lives, in our professions, in the way that we choose to have impact. And he now is serving within the Department of Veterans Affairs. He is the interim chief of staff for the Secretary of the Veterans Affairs within the Biden administration. He is somebody who, day in and day out, again, he's looking for ways to continue to serve the veteran community as a Tillman scholar, as a veteran himself, and as somebody who cares deeply and is willing to continue putting themselves on the line, maybe not in uniform, but, every day to go to work and continue to serve others. Those are the kinds of scholars, Andrea, Tom, Chris, those are the kinds of scholars who, we really, really appreciate that they have stuck to their commitment to continue to serve. And, and then I'll pause after this, but, as a foundation, there are 4 values that we see that guided Pat's life and that guide us. That's service, that's scholarship, that's impact, and humble leadership. And all of those are describe how Pat lived his life. He was a leader for sure, but he was humble about it. He was not, when he joined the 2nd Ranger Battalion, he stopped giving interviews. He said, I will not, as a former NFL player, and he thought that, perhaps he would go back, but as an NFL player, I'm not going to give any interviews. I may be the most famous guy in the 2nd Ranger Battalion right now, but this isn't about me. This is about, the tape on my chest that says U.S. Army and who I serve. And he knew that he did not need to stand out more than the guys to his left or to his right. Our scholars are doing the same thing. They're not looking to stand out on their own. They're looking to continue to serve.
Fantastic. How can people find out about this organization and, the Pat Tillman Foundation? Is there a website, telephone numbers? How can people find out about applying for your program and then also, more information about the organization?
We have all of the things. We have websites, so ptf.org or pattillmanfoundation.org. We have Facebook. We have Instagram. We've got Twitter. We're on all. If you go anywhere on the internet and you search for Pat Tillman Foundation, I guarantee you'll find us. But I'll tell you this. Our job is to share the story of our Tillman scholars and the work that they're doing in the world, and to help them grow. Our scholars, they come to us again at a fork in the road in their life, where they're saying, hey, I need to invest in myself through education. And so we get to come in and support them. We get to, amplify their impact through academic scholarships and leadership development and our global community. And, our job then is really to tell their story. And so if you're able to follow us on any of our social media channels or anything else, please do, because, not only will you learn a lot about the scholarship and the application process and all of that, but you'll get to know our community. You'll get to know Tillman scholars. And that's the thing that gets me up in the morning. And I wish I could get 750 Tillman scholars on this call with you at the same time.
Does the organization... I have a quick... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, and I'll just real quick. I would like to extend an invitation to our next Veterans Treatment Court graduation if you would like to come and meet our vets who have really, really turned their lives around, whether or not they apply for the scholarships or not. But you are a welcome guest because your good friend, Dr. Odom, has come many times. Anyway, sorry, Colonel. I'll defer back to you.
Oh, no, fine, Brian. But I was wondering if the organization, accepts donations as well.
We do, yeah. So we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We have, the top ratings from, top accountability ratings from Charity Navigator and others. So definitely, we exist and are able to continue to exist because people know about our work and because people support our work. Again, go into ptf.org or pattillmanfoundation.org. We do have a donate button there. Quite frankly, there are organizations out there and thousands of people who continue to believe in our work and to believe in Pat's living legacy. We have an event. So in a couple of weeks, we'll announce one of the ways we raise resources is through athletic events. And we've got a big run in Tempe, Arizona, every year in April, where, we'll have 30,000 people, families running a 4.2-mile race, ends on the 42-yard line in Sun Devil Stadium. It's pretty cool. Next month, we'll open up registration for a 10K race, a virtual 10K. We've got a 42 and 40 challenge next in the fall in October that ends on Veterans Day. So it's 42 miles over 40 days. You could walk, you could run, you could hike, and people get excited about that. But people also do use those events to raise funds for us. So we definitely do accept donations, and that keeps us going. And the last thing I'll say too, and we have every year we accept 60 Tillman scholars into our community, which is not a lot. We receive thousands of applications, and we're fortunate that people are interested in joining our community. On Tuesday next week is when we get to announce our next 60, and we're so excited about it. We've got some really, really talented folks. So if you're looking to follow us on social media and whatnot, we're going to be blasting some really cool stories here starting next week.
Great, thank you. Thank you for your service, and we're running out of time, but I can tell you are a deep scholar with all those books behind you. I'm looking at your library.
Hey, you know what? Hey, my wife reads a lot. My wife reads a lot. I just look at the pictures. I mean, I'm a former infantryman here.
Excellent. But thank you so much. We have to really thank the Veterans Court with Judge Hooks, Attorney Lori Roper and Attorney Brian Scanlon. Brian, you have really brought someone here that is worth his weight in gold. I thank you for your service to our nation, and thank you for your continuing service to our veterans by educating them. And so thank you so much, Brian Scanlon, Dan Futrell. We have got to have you back. You're doing such a wonderful job. So we're moving on to the next show. Stay with us. America's Heroes Group is still live, and we have two incredible shows coming up for you. So stay with us.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.